Tuberculosis ran rampant in the 19th century and was a horrible way to die. Tuberculosis consisted of a deep cough, spitting up blood, and chest pains that many thought were heart attacks. If left untreated, people would start to die a slow death as they slowly gasped for air and their lungs shut down one cell at a time. Before the development of the antibiotic used to treat tuberculosis, surgeons would poke a hole in the patient's side and collapse a lung, or they'd open up the chest and remove one or both lungs. The treatments for TB killed as many as the disease itself. People were terrified of this disease, so they built sanitariums to house those infected to isolate the spread. Although great strides have taken place in the world of medicine, tuberculosis isn't dead. Stay tuned. Destination Mystery presents Case File 25.
You are listening to Mystery Media Group.
Yay! This is the Tuberculosis Hospital history. In 1920, the building known as the Gooding Tuberculosis Hospital was erected to serve as the dormitory for the Gooding College. Despite remaining open through most of the Depression, it could not withstand the economic devastation and officially closed its doors in 1938. The building remained vacant until 1941, when the Methodist Church gave the building to the state of Idaho for the development of tuberculosis hospital. This declining economy and small town made a good home for the tuberculosis hospital to thrive. The TB hospital and sanatoriums were not placed in densely populated areas due to the shortage of equipment and personnel during World War II. The opening was delayed until May of 1947. During its 29 years of operation, it was considered one of the most advanced hospitals to specialize in tuberculosis in the country. It remained in operation until 1976. Dr. Hart was a promising radiologist and epidemiologist who took the TB treatment and prevention in Idaho from non-existent to one of the country's top treatment facilities for TB by the time he left Idaho. He moved to Idaho in 1937 and was hired by the Idaho Tuberculosis Association. He later became the state TB control officer. Throughout the Great Depression and World War II, Hart traveled extensively through rural Idaho, covering thousands of miles to lecture, conduct mass TB screenings, train new staff, and treat patients. Dr. Hart was born a woman. He was a transsexual who in 1970 had one of the very first sex change operations. He paved the way for many transsexuals during this time. If your family has lived in South Central Idaho for 4 or 5 generations, there's a good chance some of them survived TB because of Dr. Hart. Most witnesses have reported seeing an apparition of an old man in a white coat. There have also been sightings of a woman with a small girl, a nurse who roams the halls, and patients lying in beds. Doors banging, knocks, whistles, whispers, footsteps, coughs, and screams have been reported down the long hallways, along with full-bodied apparitions and shadow figures. There is a sense of never being alone.
We wanted to talk about our investigation that we did last October at the Idaho Gooding Tuberculosis Hospital. And we had a very large group with us. And so we're going to divide this interview into sections. And right now we have Jill with Jill's Chills. And we have Elva.
Hello.
With Elva's Alien Encounters. And we have Odette. I'll let you guys kind of take control of what is important to you that you want to discuss.
So I wanted to talk about that rubber ball in that room.
I was going to ask you about that. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh, good. What, do you remember what room that was, you guys?
It was down the hall, right next to the surgical room, right? It was on that same side. So in the basement of the hospital, they had 2 long hallways. One of those hallways had the crematory, right? Like a scrub room and then the operating room. I actually think it was Dr. Hart's office / pathology lab that was
One
in.
it was.
Okay.
'Cause I think we
It
were
seems
Okay.
it seemed like there was some kind of appliance in there, but
They had a freezer in there
Oh.
because they use it for food storage
so they
now.
kept the dead
Yeah.
bodies.
So there was this, I don't know, there were like these balls, like randomly you would find these little balls that probably the children of
They had a ball pit for the
Yeah,
kids
that's
to
it.
play on, and it was one of those.
Yeah, so it was like those really light, airy balls. And so I would roll it on the floor and it would just roll in this crazy pattern. And sometimes it would kind of roll back to me almost. But like every time I just kept rolling it and it would just kind of roll in a weird pattern and it never repeated itself. So it was just really interesting.
So that ball kind of came rolling out the door as we were walking by, and we were like, what happened?
Oh, yeah.
So we decided to go in and kind of do a little session in that room and see if maybe we could get something to play ball with us. So didn't we all sit on the floor?
Yeah. So we
And we
spent some time.
tried to roll
Go
the
ahead.
ball back and forth and see if it would roll.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was like, I don't know. I felt like there was something going on with that ball.
Okay, so after we performed we did a little spirit box / EVP session in that room. It felt like somebody was there. I mean, that's how I would describe it. Like somebody was there watching us, maybe kind of tentatively wondering what we were doing. And like Jill said, on occasion, that ball would just roll. It wouldn't roll normally, like just at a slant or whatever. And we even checked the floor to see if perhaps it was slanted or uneven, but it wasn't from what we could tell, but it would just roll in a really weird pattern. I don't remember what prompted me to get up and look around, but I got up and went over to the corner of the room, and I think you all came out. And that's when Michael walked by with his thermal and we caught another of our, probably the second best or the best
Yes.
pieces of evidence that we've ever caught. Michael, do you want to kind of describe what you saw?
Yeah. First of all, I'm coming live from Valleywide. I'm going to see if we can get through the whole thing without losing reception. My internet sucks at home. So when I walked over to that room you guys were in, that ball was rolling around. Usually it'll roll to the lowest point in the room where it's at, but it just kept going back and forth and around in a crazy circle. I thought that was interesting. It never did settle down into the low spot. We watched that for a few minutes and then you guys all left. And that's when I turned on my thermal imager, my heat gun.
Your heat gun.
It's a heat gun.
That works.
I turned on the thermal imager and Melissa stood up and was in the back corner. And all of us were standing in the doorway, probably 10 or so of us. And I got a very good signature reading on Melissa. But as I went pan to the left, I got another heat signature, but it was not as warm as Melissa. Melissa's was white, which means it was hotter, but it had human form, and there was nothing that I saw standing there.
It's funny because you hear Jill in the background going, "What is that?" It's like the person is moving, but I was the only one in the room at the time. I can play it.
Who's that? What?
There's Melissa.
Wait, what? Is there a...
There's Melissa. There's
No way. That is so freaky.
There's Melissa.
What in the world? Take a picture of mine.
I'm recording it.
Okay.
Could you guys see that?
Yeah.
I
That was
remember standing
cool.
by Mike and watching them.
Yep. I remember watching that too. We were like, what? It was moving.
I mean, it's got legs and arms and a full torso and a head. And at the very end, it like turns like it's looking at you guys.
Yep.
And it looks like it
Faces
even
forward.
starts to walk forward.
Mm-hmm.
But there was nothing there that would have created a mirror image that I could tell. And
Yeah,
the
it's
other
doing
thing that,
different things than what you're doing. So I don't really
right.
think it's reflecting back you.
Did you see the difference in temperature?
Yeah.
You were a lot hotter than that was, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So
I almost like
temperature wise.
the other thing that I noticed was when I got home, I just kept reviewing that because I was like blown away. I didn't know what it was, just crazy. And I heard it EVP captured on Mike's phone too. But to me, it sounds like, no, help me. So I'll play it one more
Again, I
time.
forgot about that.
It's right after I'm like, Mike, record this. And he's like, I've got it on camera. And you hear it right as he says that. So let me play it one more time.
Who's that? What?
There's Melissa.
Wait, what? Is there a...
There's Melissa. There's
I need to see.
no way.
That is so freaky.
There's Melissa.
What in the world? Take a picture of mine.
I'm recording it.
Okay.
I don't know if you heard it. It's pretty soft.
I feel like I can hear a go, but then I couldn't distinguish the last part.
It could be go or no. I'm not positive.
No.
I did try to clean it up. I mean, it just sounds really mechanical when I clean it up. So it's even harder to hear it then. But that wasn't captured on a recorder or anything. It was just captured on Mike's cell phone. I wondered if that room we were in was Dr. Hart's office and pathology lab. Was that Dr. Hart?
Well, I remember watching it, and like we were standing right in the doorway watching that, and it started moving, and it just is like, oh my gosh, but you can't see anything, but like clearly there was something there. So, I mean, it didn't scare me, but it just makes it feel more real. And then also, like when we were rolling the ball around, it just felt like something was moving it, but at the same time, you're like, could it be something? Like, I don't know. I guess I always have that thing. I'm like, is that really happening? But when you catch it on video, it makes it very real.
Yeah, I always do the same thing. I'm like, okay, what explanation? Being something else, but I don't know how to debunk that image.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to debunk that EVP because it's not anybody in our group, and it wasn't me.
It's cool. Yeah. Just seemed like somebody was there, like watching us or
kind
maybe
of observing. Yeah.
Yep.
Diane, you came with a new birthday gift when you started the investigation.
I did. I came with my dowsing rods.
You want to talk about using those for the first time? That was the first time, right?
Yeah, that was the first time we had. I mean, I'd gone out around like our property and stuff because we kind of have some weird abandoned buildings around my house, but I don't know. We really didn't know what we were doing the first time we used them. So I think by the time we got to Gooding, we knew what to expect and how to use them, but it was just kind of our first time. And Odette had invited her friend Morgan, and on one of the levels there was a kitchen and kind of a little breakfast area off there. So Morgan and Odette, and I think perhaps Mike's wife Michelle was in the room at that time. And basically with the dowsing rods, they pick up electrical or some kind of spirit energy. And the ones that I purchased were able to light up so you can use them in dark places and you can see the direction that the dowsing rods are pointing. And so how you operate them is you have one in each hand and you kind of hold it at an angle that it can just freely rotate on its own. Likely that the spirits can affect it this way.
Yeah, we would have two different colors. So we'd have like one green and then another one red. And then we would like tell it to be like, oh, move the red dowsing rod. And then like it would move. So we had them two different colors. And then sometimes we did have them the same color, but we were kind of getting more answers when we had two different colors.
So yeah, so that's the way that the spirits can either communicate with the colors or you can ask them yes and no questions. And if you designate in advance, like the crossed dowsing rods would be a yes, or if the dowsing rods oppose each other, that would be a no. Or you can ask them about certain locations in a room and they can actually move both rods to face that spirit or energy in that area. Do you feel like you guys were maybe visiting with like a female nurse or something?
Yeah, I think it was a female. But yeah, Morgan and I, we just kind of went on our own to like the kitchen And we were just kind of asking a couple of questions, and we would like ask like, oh, where are you in the room? And then they would just like slowly move and like point to like the same area. And we would like ask some questions in between, but then again, we like be like, oh, where are you now? And it kind of like went back and pointed at like the same place. So that was kind of cool. Like it kind of showed that it just like kept staying in the same place even when we asked different questions. So it wasn't just like moving around. So it actually kind of made sense. And then we also we asked if you were a female or a male. And like we found out it was a female. We were kind of getting answers like back pretty fast. And then I know a bit later, Mike came in the room with us.
Do you feel like maybe she was more in tune because you guys were like young girls, and when a man came in, maybe that intimidated her?
Well, that's true. I feel like when it was just her and I, we did ask some questions. Like we're like, oh, do you feel comfortable with us asking questions? And like it would cross and say yes, and then we like asked if like they liked us and if like they felt okay with us being there. And I kept like saying yes. And we didn't have a bad feeling either. We felt like it was like a pretty good spirit.
Odette, have you ever done a paranormal investigation before?
Yes, with you guys.
Oh, you went to that house with us.
And she came to the slaughterhouse with us too.
And how do you feel about it? What's your take on the whole paranormal aspect of things?
Well, I thought it was pretty crazy how Morgan and I were getting answers back so fast. It seemed that every single time I would use the dowsing rods that like we would get answers that like made sense and corresponded with all the questions that we were asking. So I remember her and I leaving that next day just being like, well, like that's crazy. Like just like the feelings we had while we did it. Like we felt like that was really real. We really liked the experience though.
Did it feel kind of real?
Yeah.
Like immediately?
It felt pretty real.
We have someone here that wants to say something.
Oh, no problem.
My family doesn't really like connecting our interactions with like spirits, but I've always liked the idea of it. So like I would do research and watch videos of communicating with spirits. And one thing that I found interesting was using dowsing rods. I don't know how to explain it. They would transfer their energy like through your arms to transfer onto the actual dowsing rods because they can't just move out in air. And so it takes a lot of effort and energy if other people that made them uncomfortable might ruin the mood. It would feel very tense. And so I think that could also be part of it as well.
I think you're 100% correct. And the other thing I was thinking of too, when you were talking about the dowsing rods, was it might be easier for them to manipulate those as opposed to another piece of electronic equipment. So that might be a really good way to communicate with some spirit to not drain their energy as much, if that makes sense. Very good observation.
Have her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Heather.
Hi, Heather. We'll take you on our next adventure. What about you, Diane? Did you have any experiences or things happen to you that really stood out or you wanted to talk about?
I think the thing that stood out to me was when we were downstairs. One of the hallways had several doors that had padlocks on them. And there was like no draftiness or anything. And those padlocks were just like moving. And I found that really disconcerting because there's no reason those padlocks would be moving. And I don't remember, we'd kind of split up into two different groups at that point. I don't remember if any of you guys were in the group that I was in that saw those padlocks moving, but I thought that was very interesting. And they were pretty close to that media room, I guess, that had the screen that we first started off in. I found that room probably out of the whole building to be the most unsettling. I know at one point, Van and I got separated from all of you guys like way later in the night, and you guys are up in the attic and we didn't realize that. So Van and I went down to the basement to try to find you guys. Like that was probably the only time I thought it was kind of really sketchy. I don't feel like it was a dark feeling, but I felt like we shouldn't be there and I wanted to leave. But the rest of the building I thought had a really nice vibe about it. And
I don't think you guys were there when we took the tour with the owner, were you?
We were late.
She said that that is the most active room. And the thing that they see the most down there in that media room was shadows. That is the most active room in the house. Interesting that you picked up on that and didn't know. They said they get shadows in that room, and then the hallway next to it, there's a lot of shadow activity down there.
Yeah,
too.
I feel like that's the hallway with those locks because did you guys see those locks moving? Was that just
I don't think I was there.
I saw it. I was there.
okay? I was with people. I wasn't
I thought
alone.
Jill was there. I was with Jill.
Yeah, I remember that too. Now that you mention it, I remember they were like just kind of swinging, and then we
Yeah.
would walk away from them for a while, and we'd come back, and they were still kind of moving because we were like, maybe somebody just bumped them, but they never stopped.
Those locks were pretty big, so big enough that if they were moving by the wind, we'd have known it. We'd have felt it. Your hair would be blowing around. So I don't think it was wind moving them.
No, and I feel like one of us even like held the lock and like stopped it moving. And then we looked back and it had like started up again.
I was going to say the crematorium had a heavy feeling. I remember when we went in there, that had a heavy feeling.
For sure.
Like depressing.
Yeah. So the family that purchased the Gooding Tuberculosis Hospital, I think has lived there roughly 7 years, if I remember right. They've adopted special needs kids and kids from foreign countries who weren't being well taken care of. And they've kind of just taken them under their wing and raised them and helped them and stuff. And so I think probably having that family there taking care of the place and running the place does make a big difference because their energy is a positive energy. They treat the place with respect and they have tried to maintain the building's structural integrity. I don't know what you call it, Mike, but as best they could. And they've done a really good job of it. And so I think that makes a big difference in the energy that you feel there. I do remember feeling like the minute I walked up those stairs and through the door for the first time, I was like, gosh, my chest feels kind of heavy. And I'm like, was that just because I walked up some stairs? Which is very possible. Or, is that how people felt when they first entered the place? But there were a few specific rooms that I felt like a very depressed, kind of heavy feeling in, but not negative in any way. The family was just awesome. It was so fun to stay there and have the whole place to ourselves. And we've kind of decided we probably want to do that as a tradition every year. So hopefully we'll be doing it again.
So much fun. That was like such a great time.
Yeah, one of our best times.
Yes, yeah. I agree. We have Curtis, Tice, and Cosette with Not So Cozy Crimes. We just wanted to talk to you guys about your experiences there. Did you know any prior information about the place before we went?
No.
No, I don't think so.
So when we first got to the hospital, what did you guys think?
It didn't have a scary feeling, but it had
a sad feeling.
Kind of, yeah, sad.
Especially when we went down into the surgery
heavy.
room.
I feel like it was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you had a hard time breathing?
Yeah.
I felt the same way. So how did you feel in the surgery room, Curtis?
Very heavy, and you could feel the sadness and the depressed feeling.
Mm-hmm. The operation room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the operations that they did in that surgical room they didn't have a cure at the time, but they would puncture holes in the lungs. Sometimes even have to take a lung out and such. So those surgeries weren't pleasant, probably for either party, the patient or the doctor. Tice and Curtis, tell me about your experience in the hallway with the shadow.
That's probably the scariest I've ever felt.
I don't think I've ever been so actually scared in my life.
Yeah.
I wish I could have seen, but all the tall people were standing in front of me.
Were you there too, Cosette?
Yeah, I was standing
behind us.
Yeah, but all the boys were standing in front of us, so we couldn't really see. They just started screaming and running, and then I started screaming and running.
And I was upstairs, and they were running up to me, and they're like, "A shadow!" And I'm like, "What?" So tell us about the shadow, Chris.
So we were looking down a hallway. So there was a break room kind of on the right side, which had a big light in it. And it went all the way down to the end of the hallway where there was a closed door.
And this is the hallway with the surgical room and the crematory, right?
And the crematory and
at Dr. Hart's office.
So at the very back of the hallway, you could see the light coming from the bottom of the door where the break room was. We didn't have our flashlights pointed out there. We kind of just wanted to see what was going on. And we could see a shadow moving across the floor.
Like pacing?
Not like pacing. Like you could just see under the doorway. It was behind it and then started coming towards us.
Yeah. It went behind the door and like creeped around the back of the hallway. And then it jumped out of a door and ran straight towards us. And that's when we all freaked out. And
Let's make sure everybody knows that we were the only ones downstairs and we were all together. You guys, you and Michael and everybody were upstairs in the attic at this point. Weren't you?
Yeah, I was upstairs.
The only people that were downstairs were the people looking into the hallway.
We didn't leave each other's side. It was kind of too freaky to do that. So nobody would have been on that other side.
Yeah.
Was that the door that got locked that we couldn't open? Or was it a different room?
No. It was the room with like the piano and the ping pong table.
Yeah. So you know how there was that big room and it went all the way to the back.
Okay.
And there was the door where you can see the light coming under it.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there's not even a door in that direction that could lead outside or anything.
No.
Nope.
But yeah, it's probably the most terrified I've ever been on that.
I've never been chased by a shadow, so I'm kind of jealous. I remember when we did the tour with the owner, when we first got there, she said that hallway gets a lot of shadows, a lot of shadow activity down there. And she mentioned that one of them is not so nice, but she's not sure like if it's necessarily evil, just kind of territorial.
Well, that's what it looked like. 'Cause we were all peeking down there and then we probably didn't like that. And yeah, there was 6 of us. We were all looking down there, 6 or more.
Yeah.
And then that's when he ran at us.
And Michael did get a video when they were the first ones to get there. And he got a video right as he was kind of just snooping around the place. He was going down the stairs. You could see a shadow walk by the door, like the downstairs door, and then didn't see anybody again. But
the same door too, same room.
Yeah. Same door.
He went when nobody was down there. They were the
he
first.
hadn't even told us that until after we saw it.
Yeah.
And then he goes, "Oh, you want to see something?" And then he showed us that, and that's when I got super scared.
It's crazy.
I said, "Who was down there?" And then Michael's like, "Nobody. I was the first one in the door. Nobody was down there."
But he didn't even show us that video until way after we had told him about our experience with it.
Then he asked which room it was. And he said, "Was it this room?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I got to show you something."
I honestly I never go into a place expecting to get a lot of activity, but that place, it was like the second we got there, it started happening and it didn't let up until 5:30 in the morning. It was really cool. So talk to me about the EVP session that you guys did in one of the patient room.
It was in our room we got that, correct?
Yeah, it was our room.
Oh, was it the Scream?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Curtis, Haley, me, Tyson, Cameron all shared. Well, there was 2 rooms, but they had a connecting door between them. And everybody else was doing their own thing. So we decided we would do a session just in our room.
I'll play it for you. And also I wanted to just mention after I listened to the audio from that session, I was like, I'm such a proud mom because you guys did so good with asking the right questions. You were very respectful. You didn't freak out when something like that happened. And then I noticed that after this happened, Curtis made an observation and it's on the recording, but I'll play it for you. And then I want you to tell us what your observation was. All right, here we go.
Were you a patient here at all?
What do you notice about that scream, Curtis? You mentioned right after that, how many clicks?
Yeah. So, the spirit box, it flips through radio stations backwards, right? So, and it's like one every, how many?
Well, you can set it at whatever pace you want, but in this case, it was like fast. So it was going through them pretty quick.
So, can I play it again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just listen to the scream. So you can hear that it pauses twice. So the scream goes through 3 of the different radio stations that it passes through. So it couldn't have been a radio station itself.
Because it was like,
Yeah, you can hear it.
I'm going to play the whole thing one more time.
Were you a patient here at all?
So when I heard Curtis mention that observation, I was like, I was proud again because you understood how the equipment worked and understood that it couldn't have been from a radio station. It was actually something else manipulating that machine.
Also, I'd like to mention we were on the top floor, but not the attic. Nobody was on that floor except for us because I believe you guys were down doing the ball thing at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in the very
So
bottom.
it wouldn't have been
Oh yeah, so it was us 5.
us that were sharing that room, and that's it. Everybody else was down in the operation room.
I will say too, before we started that, remember the speaker when it died all of a sudden?
Oh yeah.
Go off a little.
Oh yeah, we didn't have the big speaker.
We didn't have the
on
big
it.
speaker on it
It
because
wasn't
it died.
working.
It wouldn't work.
Ah.
So we had to just go off the little sound it was coming out of.
So it had to have been a pretty loud scream. And then I did pull up 2 more that were on that session you guys did. One of them is audible to me. The other one I'm not quite sure about. But the thing that I did notice with these 3 different pieces is that it's the same female voice. Let me play these for you.
Let's see what we hear. I like when you don't tell us before what you think it says, because then we don't know.
Why are you screaming? Afraid.
Were you afraid of dying?
I don't know what that is.
Is that a scream again?
I don't know, but Cosette, you ask, why are you screaming? And then the word afraid came up on your ovulus. So then Tice asks, were you afraid of dying? And then you hear this, but I don't know what it says. I'll play it one more time.
Why are you screaming? Afraid.
Were you afraid of dying?
It sounds like another scream to me.
Yeah, it kind of does sound like
Doesn't it
another
sound like the same voice?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it sounds like the same voice, but it sounds like a shorter kind of.
Yeah.
Like a moaning scream.
Yeah, like a moan.
Like in pain.
In pain, yeah.
Well, I'm sure if they had tuberculosis or had any surgeries done, they were in a lot of pain.
From what I remember, all the EVPs and all the things we saw and got on our ovulus and all that, it all came from a female.
Yeah.
Except for the shadow. I think that was.
Shadow was male.
It was a male. Here's one more clip.
Did you have tuberculosis? No.
That was a pretty clear no.
Yeah, that was.
I'll play it one more time.
Did you have tuberculosis? No.
The person we thought we were talking to, didn't we decide that or figure out that she was actually a nurse?
Michelle was able to connect with a lady named Maya.
Maya, that's right.
She did a little question and answer session with the ovulus. And from the information she got, she was a nurse that worked there.
So when we say, are you a patient? She says, no.
Or did you have tuberculosis?
Or maybe she was a patient and they thought she had tuberculosis, but it wasn't her.
Maybe.
Yeah. Or maybe this was Maya that said no, and the other patient, the other 2 were the patient that was in distress. I don't know. But those are the 3 clips that I got off of your session, and you guys did an excellent job. I think you could be certified paranormal investigators.
Yes.
Tell me what you did to Cameron that night.
So there was bunk beds in the room that we were staying in. So there was this, what is like a doll?
It was just like a Halloween
decoration.
It looked like a garage.
Yeah. It was all white with like black eyes, a black mouth with black hair. And I put it under the top mattress in the bunk bed, in between the boards and the actual bed. So when the person on the bottom bunk would lay down and look up, there would just be a demonic looking face on top of them. It didn't work out though, because the bed I was sleeping in, Cam wanted to watch a movie with me or something when we were going to bed. And then we both just fell asleep on the bed. So my plan didn't work out.
However,
yes, I forgot
when
about that.
Cameron woke up the next morning, what was on his ovulus? Do you remember?
So he was playing with it throughout the night while I fell asleep, and he was just playing with it on my bed.
For a while,
and he got the reason he said he didn't get off my bed is because on his ovulus it said under bed.
Oh yeah.
So he thought that it was under the bed we were laying in, but it was talking about the thing I had put under
Didn't we say, well, what's under your bed, Cameron? He's like, I'm not looking. I'm like, no, the bed you're supposed to sleep in. And he looked under. He's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So it was like the spirits were warning him that there was something under his bed.
Before that, though, remember we put it in the curtain for Curtis?
Oh, yeah. And you guys scared me with it.
We put it in the curtain. Me and my mom and Jill, I think.
Oh, yeah.
For you and Curtis. Me and the girls were like, we found it. We found the doll thingy. Put it in the curtain so Curtis would see it. And then we scared you guys. And then before Cameron came in, that's when Curtis said we need to put it under the bed.
Yeah, he didn't even know it was there.
I liked when I hid in a closet and Curtis was snooping around.
That scared me so
I hid in the closet and
bad.
Curtis was opening every door down the hallway. So I ran ahead and hid in the closet. So when he opened the door, I screamed and I thought that was the funniest thing.
I think my scream was higher pitched than yours.
It was so funny.
Good times, good times. What was all over your room? Do you remember what was up in the corner?
Oh, yeah.
Ladybugs?
Like a ton of them.
A ton, yeah.
Like a lot.
All over the place.
At least 50.
All those ladybugs were only in your room.
And they're all in like one corner.
Yeah, all in one corner.
Right. Also, it was October in Idaho, so it was not like it was warm outside.
Right. So it's very weird that they were there.
Normally, you don't even see you're lucky to see a ladybug in the summer, let alone 50 of them.
It says that with the ladybug, your spirituality is magnified because this insect, which flies high, acts as a bridge between the earthly and celestial energies. The ladybug can combine celestial knowledge with earthly forces and is therefore an excellent source of inspiration for the development of spiritual aspirations.
That's right.
And that's the room that you did your session in, correct?
Yeah, where we got the scream. Yeah.
Yep. I have recordings of every single person that was in that building was downstairs and you could hear people walking around upstairs.
Yeah, I forgot about my footsteps.
Remember that?
I forgot about that too. And I do have it on recording, so I'll make sure that it gets in here.
I heard it, so I just recorded it on my phone and then you can hear it. Every single person that was in that building was downstairs, but you can hear footsteps above us.
Perfect.
The whole time.
It was like on hardwood too.
Yeah, it was clear footsteps.
I wanted to get your reaction on a video that Michael captured while we were there. This is probably the second best piece of evidence we've ever captured. By the way, I'm the only one in this room, okay?
Who's that? What?
There's Melissa.
Wait, what?
There's Melissa. There's who?
That is so freaky.
There's Melissa.
What in the world?
Oh my gosh.
It turned around.
It's like moving.
It turns, yeah. And I don't know if you guys heard at the very end, but there was an EVP captured on Mike's phone.
Okay, let me listen.
If you're, joining the podcast, what you're listening to is Michael is recording the room that I'm standing in with his thermal. And there's a full apparition in there that's the color of the apparition is a lot lighter than I am. You can see me and I'm like white because I'm so hot. And this one is like pink and I'm so hot. And this one's like pink and whitish, but you see the legs, the arms, the face, and then you see it turn towards Michael.
I thought that was you before you said that other one was me.
No, you see it turn towards Michael, and then you hear don't tell us. Okay, it's really quiet, so you have to listen close, okay? And then you'll also hear Jill in the background going, "What is that?"
What?
There's Melissa.
Wait, what?
There's Melissa. There's who?
That is so freaky.
There's Melissa.
What in the world? Take a picture of mine.
I'm recording it.
Okay.
Did you guys hear it?
Help.
I couldn't tell.
It was right after I said, "Take a picture of it, Mike," and he says, "I'm recording it."
He goes,
I hear a no, help me.
Oh, see, I heard a help.
That's what I hear.
Okay, again.
What?
There's Melissa.
Wait, what?
There's Melissa. There's who?
That is so freaky.
There's Melissa.
What in the world? Take a picture of mine.
I'm recording it.
No, I definitely heard the no and the help.
But I didn't hear the help the first time.
And that room happened to be Dr. Hart's office / pathology lab, where he spent all of his time trying to find a cure for TB.
Maybe that's what he's saying. Instead of taking a picture, he's trying to
help me find a freaking cure because I want to help these people. Yeah.
That definitely looked like a guy, though. He has broad shoulders.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, and when I see it, I can kind of see what maybe looked like a lab coat.
Yeah, I was thinking that same thing too.
Because at first I was thinking maybe this is a nurse, and I was trying to look at, the uniforms that they wore back then, and it didn't really match that, but I can see where it could definitely be a lab coat. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to share?
No, but I really want to go back. That was my favorite
Me too.
one.
Everybody wants to go back, so we'll have to make that a tradition.
It's pretty scary. There's a difference between being scared, like scary movies and fake haunted houses, and actual
stuff that you cannot
the scared that I had in Zach Bacon's haunted museum.
Right.
That's weird. It's a weird feeling.
I don't ever think, I'm going to capture all this really good evidence. But when I do, I'm like, okay, I know that wasn't faked because I did it, and you can explain away, okay, nobody was down there but me.
Yeah.
This, that, and the other. I know that this is something that can't be explained in general scientific terms. So that's what always excites me, looking at something real, because I was there and I captured it. Whether or not anybody believes me, I don't care. We have Sierra, Lauren, and Bella with Paranormal Teens, Michelle with Time Forgot, and of course, Mike and I. What did you guys think about the tuberculosis hospital?
I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun.
It was fun. Had some crazy experiences.
Do you want to talk about the experience you had seeing that person in the chair in the hallway?
Yeah. When we first got it there, we chose our bedrooms, and my bedroom was at the end of the hall. And I was sitting in the chair in my room with the door open, tying my shoe. And there's this red chair outside in the hall. And I was tying my shoe and I looked over, and for a split second, I saw a lady in it looked like a nurse uniform. I don't know, but she had white hair. And that's all I saw. And I saw her twice while I was sitting in that chair. While I was sitting in the chair in my bedroom, she was in the chair in the hallway.
So you saw her once when you were tying the shoe, and then another time
from my room when I was grabbing something. Yeah.
Crazy.
And then the second craziest thing that happened to me there was we were on the same floor. It's the main floor. And I was walking past their laundry room, and I heard a shh. Just someone shushed me. And it was kind of freaky. My dad came back with his thermal imager and saw something in the corner of that room. And then my dad's imager went all blurry, and then it popped up right in front of the imager. And then it went back to the corner of the room. It was kind of scary.
Did you say that was the laundry room area?
Yeah, the laundry room on the main floor, right next to the staircase.
So that was the room for me that had just a really heavy presence to it. My EMF would go off every single time I went into that room. Michelle had a lot of experiences in that hospital. When we were getting the tour down in the basement, and she said, I want you to guess and see what this room is. Do you remember that?
Oh, I do.
And you were like, that's the morgue. And she's like, well, yeah, it was a crematory.
Yeah, that room had a really heavy feeling, a sad feeling, not dark, but it was just an oppressive feeling when we were standing outside of it.
Mm-hmm. When I walked through it, I could feel my heart just drop. It was super sad.
You also had a lot of activity with what we believe to be a nurse named Maya. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. At the beginning, when we go to these places, we make sure everything's charged. All of our batteries are charged. I had 2 batteries for both my video camera and my Canon, the still camera. And within the first 20 minutes, both batteries on both devices died. So I took them back to my room to charge them, unknowing that the room that Mike and I had chosen was the most haunted room rumored in that place. And I was going to put my hair up in a scrunchie, and I flipped over to put my hair up in the scrunchie, and I got really cold. And as I stood up, I asked, is there anyone? And before I could even finish that, the words around you came across the ovilus. So then I asked, are you by me? And the word west came up. And I said, well, I was going to go join the others and ask, do you have to stay here, or can you leave this room? And the word leave came across. So then I asked, what's your name? And Maya came up. Hence, we were addressing Maya most of the night after that. I said, do you have a last name? Named Dune came up. I said, did you work here? And I got the word right. Did you leave loved ones to work here? and I got the word husband. My phone died soon after that. So I left it plugged in my room, and we met up with Diane and you guys and did more investigations up in the attic and whatnot. And then when we came back down, Mike and I came to our room and we found Cosette, Tice, Curtis, the three girls. And I went and checked my phone that I left running on the office while we were gone. And the words, "I'm sorry, help me, get out, cellar, and arrived" were recorded while we were gone. We thought that was kind of interesting.
They did a spirit box session in that room, I believe. And they captured a couple of different EVPs. Every one of them was the same woman's voice.
Oh, that's interesting.
Really?
Well, my phone had some charge then, so we picked it up, and I believe we went into the dining room then and asked some more questions. We asked, did you like working here? And got feeling. Did you work with Dr. Hart? We got scientist. How was it here? Hideous. What was hideous? We got smell, which I can imagine since, the crematory was there. Are you still here? And we got can hear you. And then we asked, was your family all right? And we got loss. And then I asked, is there anything we can do for you? And I got the word memory.
What did you think about that answer?
I almost got the feeling that she didn't want us to forget what that place was. That, the tuberculosis hospital was an important part of history. And many people don't realize how bad it was in this area. And there was a designated hospital for it. And then my phone died after that too. So I went and put it back up again. All my electronics just kept dying all through the night.
You're drawing all the energy out of them. So I know that the Gooding Tuberculosis Hospital was one of the top hospitals for tuberculosis research in the United States. And a lot of that was due to the work that Dr. Hart was doing. But I can still imagine it being a horribly depressing place to be, not only for the patients, but for the people who work there, because you're doing the best that you can to try and help these people, but there's not a cure and you don't want to get it either. It's got to be kind of a hopeless feeling for both ends. I kind of feel like that maybe is where you fit in, Michelle. I remember it was when we investigated this place, it was right at the heart of when COVID hit us pretty bad.
Yeah.
Just kind of going through this scary pandemic, but you could kind of relate to these nurses and doctors that worked there because you'd been doing the same thing for months and months.
Definitely. Yeah, it's hard to lose your patients when you're working as hard as you can to save them and to not know how to treat it. And you're just learning as you go.
And that's kind of what they were doing too.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I kind of felt like Maya attached to you, or not attached to you, but she followed you around and it felt good for her to have somebody who understood, is how I kind of took it.
It was interesting how we seemed to get answers from her in the other places where we went to.
Did you have anything else that really stood out to you, Michelle?
When we were down in the basement, the second hallway across from where the crematorium was, where the OR and the doctor's office was, I did not like going down that hallway. That one scared me. That's where you guys got the image and stuff. The feelings I got from it, I couldn't go back down there. When you guys went down that second time and got the image and everything, I couldn't go with you. There was something about that hallway that just really bugged me.
That's where they get a lot of shadow figures and activity.
Well, I got shadow activity in the attic, and we had your whatever motion sensor light. But on the opposite corner, same side of the building, I saw like shadows peeking around a beam, and I remember you saw some too. While we were there.
In the corner of the attic?
In the corner of the attic.
I remember seeing something in the corner.
Yeah, like a shadow or something in the corner.
It was kind of weird, but it did look like somebody was kind of just standing there. And it's funny, Sierra, that you mentioned you heard a shh. Because when we took that tour, the owner said that she heard a shh up in the attic, and that kind of freaked her out. I think that was actually the first activity that she experienced there, if I remember right.
Yeah, because she said that she always told them If you like me and want me to stay here, then leave me alone. She says she's never had any issues. Well, and Hobbs isn't here to share his story, but after we were all done with our investigation, he got locked out of his room. And we thought it was Curtis playing a joke on him. And so we were like, Curtis, stop it. It was so late at night, we couldn't dare wake the owner up to get a key for his room. And luckily we got it unlocked. It wasn't until afterwards we found out the story of the little boy that's supposed to haunt the first floor. And he was a prankster and he likes to lock doors because no one admitted to locking Hobbs's door. Almost confirming the experiences that we had because we didn't know about the stories until after we had those experiences.
At 3:00 in the morning, you can drive to Bliss and get a hamburger, which I found rather appealing.
The investigation hungries. We all got really hungry and we're like, crap, there's nothing here. It's a pretty small town.
But Bliss is half the size of that town.
I know.
There's
They
like
had
6
a really
people.
good grill, though. We had some good chicken
did.
nuggies
Yeah.
and tots.
Sure. Lauren's got something to say.
Okay, so a bunch of people went back up to the attic, but a lot of us girls stayed with, and it was in the main lobby right in front of the entrance door. And there was a bunch of chairs out there, and me and Bella sat on one little chair, and I fell asleep because I kept like falling asleep all over the place. And I like fell asleep, and I dreamed that main hall where all the bedrooms were, that there was like a big window at the end, and all of us were like running down it, and there's this black lady, like she wasn't black, like it was a black figure in a dress was chasing us, and then like we jumped through the window and like fell, and then I woke up.
That's kind of scary. But I still find it kind of fascinating that you and your dad like to fall asleep during the middle of investigations.
I can't believe they can.
I know.
I did good at the tuberculosis hospital. It was just louder that I couldn't stay awake. Man, I was tired. Until the door hit the bed and woke me up. But I was not expecting a thermal image of something.
Oh, I've got that.
Or that ball to roll around.
Yeah, or the ball rolling around, or the shadow that chased the boys up the hall. I'm going to share that screen with you. Cosette and her crew actually caught this.
Were you a patient here at all?
Ooh, that gave me chills.
Yeah. Okay, Mike. So I had a couple of EVPs that I wanted to run past you. Your take on them that I pulled from the audio we did at the tuberculosis hospital. These first few are from the session we did in the attic. This first one I'm going to play is we got the name Caroline on our obulus. So that's what the question is referring to. Caroline, are you the nurse that stays up here? No. No?
That was distinct.
Pretty clear no.
Yeah.
That one was interesting.
That was kind of cool attic.
This one, you'll hear something right before you hear Curtis say, my baby. And the reason they say my baby is because that's what came up on their ovulus. But listen to what you hear right before that comes up.
My baby.
Did you hear that? It's pretty quick.
Yeah.
You want me to play it again?
Yes.
My baby.
I heard mommy.
My baby.
I did hear that time. Gosh, that was a child. That sounds like something from an old horror movie we've seen.
Yeah, I agree. Here's another one in the attic. Dad? Are you sad?
Sad and mom?
Yeah, I hear sad at the beginning. So I say sad, like a question. And then you'll hear like a humming or something right here. It's 3 syllables. I don't know. Or maybe crying. And then this one sounds like it says mom.
That's what I heard.
And then this one sounds like crying. I'm going to play it again. Dad? Are you sad?
Holy cow, I didn't hear that before.
That one kind of gave me the goosebumps.
Yeah.
Another one from the attic. Were you a doctor here? It sounds like 2 syllables.
Yeah.
I don't know what it says. It almost sounds like go fish.
I thought I was hearing, oh, yeah, but.
Oh, maybe.
Who knows?
This is the last one that I got in the attic, but this one is just asking about a patient instead of the doctor.
Were you a patient here?
I think it says yes, but hard to hear. Okay, these next few are going to be from the basement. The first time we were in the basement. So that would have been our very first session.
What room were we in?
The media room.
Okay.
So I asked, Dr. Hart, is that you checking on the patients? And it's because we were hearing footsteps above us.
Are you checking on the patients, Dr. Hart?
I think it might say yes, but I'm not sure. I don't know what that says.
Oh.
But it says something. This one is just a recording of the footsteps we were hearing. We actually got footsteps recorded on several occasions, but this one was a little freaky because Tice asked something about if a patient's family was coming to visit. We hear footsteps and then he's like, is that your family? And I think I ask it to come downstairs and you hear, it sounds like it's starting to come down the stairs and then everybody freaks out. So I cut it off after that clip, but you can kind of hear the footsteps pretty good on this one.
Can you have your family come down the stairs and turn on the motion sensor?
In case the camera's not picking us up, we're hearing footsteps above us. Are you coming down the stairs?
And then we started to hear footsteps again. I thought that was a little interesting because we were all in the same room. This one's a little weird too. You'll hear what sounds like a scream right before you hear footsteps.
That walking is over here. You hear it? Yes. Are you walking upstairs?
I don't know if you can hear that very well, but you'll hear like a little scream or something, and then you hear some walking. And you can hear people in the background going, do you hear that? It's right above me.
I can hear the whispering, yeah.
Okay, now I've got a video.
In case this isn't... Oh, thank you for answering us. Can you turn that flashlight back off so we know that was you? Oh, thank you.
What do you think about that?
That's a little spooky.
For those that are listening on the podcast, it's a video of all of us sitting in a circle down in the basement media room. And we had a flashlight sitting on the floor. You know how you just turn it and if you touch it, it'll barely come on. You can see it clearly sitting in the middle of the floor. Nobody's even close to it. And we ask Dr. Hart if he'll turn it on, and then it turns on. And then we ask him to turn it off and it turns off. I'm going to play it one more time.
In case this isn't... Oh, thank you for answering us. Can you turn that flashlight back off so we know that was you? Oh, thank you.
I like that one.
I do too.
I love it when
that's
that happens.
Crazy. Remember that dance hall building we did in Logan?
Yeah, same thing.
And immediately on and off when you asked.
Yeah.
That was kind of spooky.
It just blows me away. If it's just the flashlight being weird.
Turning off and on is one thing, but doing it when you ask it to, that's another.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and you can clearly see nobody's even close to it. This is basement 2 now. When we came down later that night, this is what we caught. We got the word angry on the ovulus, so that's why I'm asking this question.
How did you feel working here?
Well, I just said angry.
Angry? I can imagine being angry, not being able to help people.
Was it hard not being able to see your family all the time?
Play that, just that part again.
To me, it sounds like desperate.
Yeah, I can hear that.
I'm going to play it one more time.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
That was an older gentleman.
Yeah. When we went down later into the basement in that same room, Cameron asked this question.
Could you tell us what life was like back then?
Go back? Do you want to go back? Yeah, I do.
That almost sounds like the same male voice from the desk.
Yeah.
Okay, this one was interesting. So you'll hear a whistle and then what sounds like a name. And then Curtis got the name Brandon on his ovulus. And so he asked me to ask him if his name is Brandon. And then you'll hear another EVP right here. So
Can you say that again?
Brandon, is his name Brandon? Ask him.
Is your name Brandon?
What does it sound like?
You hear Brandon?
Sounds like Brandon.
Can you say that again?
Brandon, is his name Brandon? Ask him.
Is your name Brandon?
That one kind of gave me the chills too, because I heard Brandon.
That one was a little ominous.
Yeah.
A little bit.
This was in the crematorium.
You noticed to know something about the crematorium?
So Michelle asks, do you want us to know something about the crematorium? Right here, I hear the word mom. And then right after that, they get the word burn on their obulus.
I did hear mom before you told me what it said.
Oh, okay. And then they got the word burn, which is pretty creepy since we were in the room where they burned the bodies. Here's one more we got in the crematorium. This one's quick.
Do you have to burn a lot of people?
So he says, do you have to burn a lot of people? And I hear just what sounds like a scream of some sort.
Do you have to burn a lot of people?
Could even be a scream out of frustration.
Could be. So this one is in Dr. Hart's office when we had the interaction with the ball. And this one gave me chills too, because I didn't hear this until the second time I went back through and listened.
Are you Dr. Hart?
To me, it sounds like, how are you?
Are you Dr. Hart?
Yeah.
This is another one in that same room while we were messing around with the ball.
How many are here?
To me, it sounds like this says problem. There's probably too many of us.
How many are here?
I don't know. Do you hear something different?
How many of us were there?
I think there was 7 of us in the room, but also there might have been people standing in the doorway.
Well, it sounds like there's more syllables than 7.
Yeah.
But I also heard a problem too, so hard to say.
Okay. These last, here's some from the laundry room, which was the room that most of us just felt really almost desperate, feeling like heaviness and.
Maya, are you still here with us?
No, I don't know what that says, but it sounds like a little kid. And maybe Maya just had a really young voice. I mean, if that was Maya and she does have, a really young voice or whatever, maybe that was her that we heard in all of the ones that sounded like a little kid.
Maya, are you still here with us?
I don't know what it says.
Michelle says it sounds like, yep.
Yeah, could be, for sure. Here's another one from the laundry room.
Is Dr. Hart with us?
To me, that sounds like the same voice.
That's the same kid, yeah.
And I get a yes.
It could be why that voice is still the same one that said yep when I asked if Maya was here. Because then we didn't ask if Dr. Hart himself was there. We said, is he with us? And she could have been answering, he is.
Yeah.
So she was the one with us.
I don't know. I kind of got the impression that this nurse, if her name was Maya, did closely work with Dr. Hart.
And to me, it's kind of like a nurse because she's used to answering for him and doing things in his name and for him. She would easily answer for him without thinking about it.
And maybe he just really trusted her and wanted her to do, a lot of the work with him because she did such a good job. Okay, here's the very last one. And this is also from the laundry room.
Were you the person I saw sitting in a chair?
Now, it doesn't answer anything, but in the background, I hear that same voice.
Were you the person I saw sitting in a chair?
Right. Well, she's saying chair.
Yeah. I also wanted to mention, these are some words we got on the ovulus, but we got the word chest, gagging. We kept getting the month October come up, and interesting because we were there in October and also because Dr. Hart's birthday is in October. Before we go, we wanted to share a trailer from our friends at the Crime Family Podcast.
I got in a fight with my brother-in-law and I shot him in self-defense. Yeah, there's blood. He's not moving.
Hey, all you true crime lovers, it's AJ.
And Katie. And Stephanie. For this podcast, we're keeping it all in the family. We're 3 siblings who share a love for true crime.
Okay, I'm living in a family of 15 people, and
My parents are abusing. They abuse us. And my two little sisters right now are chained up.
We're going to be discussing our favorite true crime cases that involve people who kill their family members and loved ones. So make sure that you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast streaming app so that you're notified as soon as we release a new episode.
What I am doing is looking at myself so negatively, looking at myself in a minuscule little particle facing this earth. It's no good. Trash. Will never be successful.
You can follow us on Instagram at Crime Family Podcast or on Twitter at Crime Family Pod 1.
If you enjoy our show, please like, subscribe, and leave a 5-star review. We will be introducing other Mystery Media Group guests in our upcoming episodes, along with weekly bonus material. If you'd like to see more pictures and evidence from our adventures, visit www.destination-mystery.com. You'll find a link to our blog as well as a link for merch and contact information. Until next time, find your own destination.
Solve the mystery.
This is a production of Mystery Media Group.
Yay!